This is how I set up webinars that consistently close $30,000 or more per month. If you don't know who I am, my name is Austin. I specialize in building highly optimized systems for business owners like you to attract high-ticket clients and consistently close $30, $40, $50,000 a month, increase your revenue month over month. And the way that I do that is through webinars. So this is something I've been experimenting quite a lot with over the past few months, especially. So just to give you some KPIs, some numbers, so you can get a sense of what we're talking about here. Here's some test webinars or some recent webinars that I've done recently. This first one is a test specifically. So this company that I was working with, we just wanted to feel it out and see if webinars were a good fit. So we spent $535 on Facebook ads. We acquired 47 leads, 47 people registered for this webinar. The cost per lead was $11, which is decent. And then at the end of the presentation, they closed their low ticket product. They've got two products. They've got a low ticket and they've got a high ticket, like $7,000, $8,000 coaching product they sell. So they sold one of their low ticket products. And from that simple webinar, they made nearly a 3x return on ad spend, which is not bad. So after that successful test, we ran 2 more webinars. We increased the ad spend significantly. We attracted a lot more leads. Unfortunately, the cost per lead went up as well, but that was just more of a technical thing. There were some inefficiencies in the funnel. We worked those out, and after the fact, that we got the cost per lead back down again. But despite the cost per lead being pretty high, we still were able to close significant amounts of money on both of these webinars, and we ended up at a 6x return on ad spend for both. So what does this involve exactly? So I put together a little list that I personally go through when I'm setting up webinars for companies. And I titled it, How to Set Up Webinars That Consistently Close $30,000 a Month. That's based on numbers that I have actually done in real life. The very first thing is the presentation. So when I sit down and I talk to a company for the first time, when I'm talking to a business, we want to figure out, you've got to target ideal client. You want to come up with some kind of presentation, something transformational. Those people have problems in their life. They are currently here. We want to get them to here. So we're going to construct a presentation. We're going to do it strategically. We want to construct a presentation that gets them from point A to point B. So the people that show up to your webinar, obviously the vast majority of them that show up are not going to buy your high ticket product. We're dependent on a small percentage of those people to actually convert. But even the people that don't buy your product, we still want them to walk away having learned something, having grown as a person, because this is your opportunity a lot of these people are cold traffic. They've never seen you before. So this is your opportunity to build authority, build trust with these people. So the presentation is very important, especially the first few minutes of the presentation. I like to emphasize this with the businesses that I work with. You don't want to just show up to your presentation and just start riffing from maybe some bullet points or off the top of the dome. You want to actually have a presentation. You want to have a presentation that's already clearly planned out. The first 5 minutes, you're going to cover why they're there, why it's important, and start getting into the proofs, whatever case studies that you might have, because you want to retain as many people as possible. If people show up to your presentation and they just see you kind of rambling, like I'm doing now, kind of, if they just see you rambling, your retention rates are going to drop off the map. And so the presentation, just to reiterate, we want to put a lot of thought into what's going into the presentation, especially at the beginning of the presentation, and then do some practice so that the fluff is cut out of the presentation and people are getting their money's worth, so to speak, even though it's probably going to be free. So the next component is the technical setup. I wrote Webinar Jam here. You can use a lot of different softwares. There's not one correct answer. I've personally run webinars on YouTube Live directly. I've done one on Zoom. I've done a handful of other softwares. I personally just like Webinar Jam. It's an all-in-one suite. It has a ton of useful tools. You can see exactly who registered for it, who showed up of those people. You can pull lists of the registrants, and the people that you can even get more specific than that. You can pull a list of people that only watched 30% of it, for example. And so Webinar Jam is great. So there's a lot of technical nuance with the actual funnel setup. A lot of that is greatly simplified by Webinar Jam. You can build the landing page in it. You can capture their information. You can send emails. You can send text messages all in one. So that is what I recommend you use. The next component here on my list is the email list setup. So just a little bit about me. Before I ever started specializing in webinars, I used to operate as a email marketing consultant. I would go into people's businesses and I would just optimize their email marketing. And the reason that was an effective business is because, and a lot of people don't know this, for every dollar you spend on your email list, you're going to get no less than $20 return. And that's on the low end. If you do it really well, you can get 30, 40x return on ad spend, or return on investment, not ad spend, return on investment. It's one of the most effective marketing tools you could use is your email list, your newsletter. And a lot of businesses don't understand this. A lot of people have this mindset that, oh, email, that's ancient. It's been around for 20 plus years. Nobody really uses email, right? Wrong. Everybody uses email. Just to make an account on this platform, you need an email address. It's not optional. Everyone of all age ranges has an email address. And most people, this surprises a lot of business owners, the vast majority of people check their emails consistently. And so having a good email setup, a good optimized email list is it's going to allow you to push your messages straight to people's inboxes. Keep your name front of mind. So part of what I do, and part of the reason this is so important, is you really do want to put a lot of thought into, where you're sending your emails from, the content that is actually in your emails, what that looks like. Is it plain text? Does it have images? And then the actual deliverability itself. A lot of people are just blasting out emails to lists, and they're getting a terrible deliverability. They're going to the promotions box. They're going to spam. So this is very, very important that you set up your email correctly. Let me go back to this webinar KPI sheet. I don't have it recorded on this specific sheet, but normally I show the actual attendance rate for these webinars. So in this webinar right here, we had 300 people registered. Typically, I've never seen 100% show up rate. You're typically going to get the industry standard is about 20%. So let's say 60 people showed up to this. 60 people out of 300. What happened to the other 240 people? Well, this is why you need an email list, because when you capture their information, not only are you going to send them, reminders, but you want to have a strategy in place where you're continually contacting these people forever into the future. And so 80% of the people don't show up, but you're still reaching them and you're still converting them. So this particular webinar, we closed $45,000 after the webinar was over, like that first week. It doesn't account for, this number on the spreadsheet doesn't account for all the people that converted a month later or that will convert 6 months later. So that 80% that didn't show up, that's still money. That's still money that's going to come in. And I won't record it on this sheet necessarily, but this number might hit 60,000 or 80,000 in the next year from the people that registered to this specific event. So your return on ad spend, if you do your email list correctly, will actually be way higher, because this particular KPI sheet doesn't account for all the people that are going to convert a year from now. And so that's why I really, really try to emphasize having a proper email newsletter set up as part of what makes webinars successful. So the next component is the Facebook ads. So when I sit down with a business that's interested in doing webinars, the Facebook ads, we want to strategize these. There's a whole method to actually setting these up. When I say ad creatives, I'm specifically talking about the video that you see your target audience sees when they're scrolling Instagram or Facebook. So you want to structure it so it captures attention. It opens with a really good hook. and then you go into some kind of story or proof, preferably a proof. So you're opening with something attention grabbing, then you get into what gives you authority, which is your proof, your case studies, your testimonials, and then you get into your call to action. So 3 components to a good ad creative. And I wrote here, brainstorm 5 to 6 ad creatives. When I sit down with a business to talk about this stuff, I always recommend no less than 5 ad creatives because we need data. If we're going to run any kind of ads, we can't just put out one ad creative and just hope for the best. We have to put out a bunch, preferably like 15, but minimum 5. And then we run some traffic to it using Facebook ads or YouTube ads, and we just see what's converting and what's not. And the ones that do convert, we double down on those. We make variations, maybe we'll change the hook and experiment around that. But that's the reason for making 5. The next I wrote here, arguably the most important part of a webinar marketing funnel is your thank you page. The reason for this is we live in a attention economy where people have very low attention spans. So people love registering for stuff. If you have some kind of ebook or free course or lead magnet or whatever, it's very easy to get people to sign up for that kind of stuff. Same with your webinar. And what happens with a lot of businesses is they'll advertise their webinar, they'll get a ton of registrations, and then nobody shows up. People love registering, but then it's extra work to actually get them there. And part of the problem is people forget that they even registered. You'll have people register that morning and then forget by the evening that they registered for your presentation. So one component that boosts your attendance rates and reminds people the importance of this is the thank you page. And so what I like to do is I advise businesses, as soon as people register, they see the thank you page, you open the thank you page with a big thank you message. Hey, thank you for registering. We're doing the presentation on whatever date. And then you have a video below that where it's just you talking about why they need to be there. They need to be there. We're talking about this transformational thing in an hour. The people that attend this are going to change their lives. So you create FOMO. They need to go there because of X, Y, and Z. And then on top of that, you give them a gift. So maybe you have a registration gift to incentivize them to register in the first place, but you really need some kind of attendance gift that's exclusively for the people that actually show up. And that creates additional urgency, additional FOMO, and gets people to go. And just as an example, it could be an ebook, it could be some kind of workshop that you recorded, a free course or something, or maybe it's a course that normally you sell. You're going to make it free just for the people that attend. You want people to attend. So that's pretty important. The thank you page, very, very important. And similar to that is your follow-up sequence, which is the next component here. Your follow-up sequence is the actual marketing that goes into reminding people that they actually registered for the thing. Because like I said, a lot of people forget they even registered for it. And so I break that down into SMS and email campaigns. That's the easiest way to reach people and the most consistent way. Email is great. SMS is even better than email for reminding people of stuff. And so I have a whole strategy on how I do this exactly. There's a fine line you want to walk. You want to send a ton of messages to remind them, but you don't want to send so many that they're marking you as spam and unsubscribing and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of a balance there. SMS, for example, typically running up to the webinar, they get an SMS the moment they register, which establishes that you're going to be sending them text messages. And then the day before, there's one reminder. The morning of, there's one reminder. And then usually right as we go live, or maybe 5 minutes after we go live, I'll send another email with SMS with the reminder. And the same with the emails. Typically running up to the webinar, I'll send one per day. And then the day of, I'll send sometimes as many as 5 in a day, which sounds like a lot, but it converts. It works well and boosts your attendance rate. So that's a very important component, is your follow-up sequence. And then the final component that I have written here is your call booking page. So very likely if you're already in business, you already sell some kind of high ticket product, whether it's your coaching or a course of some kind, you already have a call booking page, because it's hard to just pitch people on a shopping cart page and have them convert themselves. You need to usually drive people to a call and get through that final resistance so you can convert them. So with a call booking page, if you already have one set up, what I'll typically do is I'll clone it so that any extra calls that we get for you using this webinar, you can track them separately from the funnel that you already have. And again, similar to the registration page, there is a little bit of nuance in how you set up your call booking page. You might have a VSL on it, and you're probably going to have a thank you page after they register, which there's some technical things that I do with how that's set up. I don't know if I have time to go into it in this video. Maybe I'll make a dedicated video, but that's part of my setup process, is your call booking page. Okay, so we've got 7 components here. You might be looking over this list and going, I could do this. This is pretty easy. It is pretty easy, and you can do it. And you might have somebody on your team that's maybe a funnel builder or a marketing guy that could do this for you as well. If you work with me, I specialize in webinars. I've done a ton of them, especially this year. I've doubled down on doing webinars for people. So I have a whole process that I call the Webinar Wealth Engine. And there's a lot of little nuances for setting these things up that I don't think most people are aware of, most business owners are aware of. So if you work with me, I'll set up all this for you, and I'll do it in such a way that we have KPI sheets, we can track everything, and we can improve, so that hopefully if you work with me again, I make you a ton of money, you work with me again, we can continue to improve on our KPIs and make things better and better. So you don't really know me. Chances are you probably haven't, this might be the first time you've ever seen any of my content. So if you're interested in doing webinars with me, you can book a call below. But before you do, let me make you an even better offer. This component right here, the email list aspect of it, I want to come in completely for free and just audit your email list, because the chances are there's something about it that isn't quite optimized that could be made a lot better. And it's like I said earlier, your email list is money. It's a money printer. And so let me come in completely for free. I will audit your email list, and I will make sure that it's fully optimized so you're getting the highest deliverability possible. That's completely for free. If you like work with me, you want to set up webinars, we can talk about that later. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, book a call below. Like I said, I'll audit your email list as is. And other than that, I appreciate you watching. Have a great day.